Let's talk about China, a country now facing a crisis it never expected: not enough babies. Once known for its booming population, China is now grappling with a shrinking workforce and an aging society. The consequences are far-reaching, threatening everything from economic growth to social stability. For decades, the government pushed hard for fewer children. The infamous one-child policy introduced in 1979 was strictly enforced, shaping the lives of millions and leaving a lasting impact on family structures. Now, in a dramatic reversal, they're desperate for more. The government is scrambling to undo decades of population control, but the damage may already be done. Their latest solution? A $500 cash handout for each new baby. It's a headline-grabbing move, but is it enough to make a real difference? That's right, $500 to solve a demographic crisis threatening the entire economy. It sounds generous, but in reality it's a drop in the ocean compared to the true costs of raising a child in modern China. It's barely enough to cover diapers for a few months, let alone the staggering expenses of childcare, education, and housing that parents face today. The irony is rich. The same government that once enforced the one-child policy is now begging for more kids. The shift is dramatic, but the scars of the past linger. But young people aren't buying it. Many see through the government's quick fixes and remain unconvinced that having children is worth the sacrifice. The cost of living is sky-high, work is relentless, and the sacrifices are huge. Long hours, job insecurity, and expensive urban life make parenthood a daunting prospect. A small cash bonus won't erase those problems. For many, it's simply not enough to tip the scales. Tonight we'll break down why China's birth rate is plummeting, what the government is offering, and why it's not working. We'll look at the numbers, the policies, and the real-life stories behind the statistics. We'll dig into the real reasons young people are saying no to parenthood, and why $500 won't change their minds. From career pressures to changing values, the obstacles are complex and deeply rooted. This is about economics, culture, and a government stuck in the past. The challenge goes far beyond money. It's about trust, opportunity, and the future people want to build. You can't fix a deep societal issue with pocket change. Let's dive in and explore what it will really take to address China's demographic dilemma. To truly understand the sense of urgency and even panic in China today, we need to rewind and look at how we got here. The story of China's population crisis is decades in the making, shaped by policies, culture, and unintended consequences. For over 35 years, the government strictly enforced the one-child policy, aiming to curb what they saw as unsustainable population growth. Propaganda posters and family planning officials became a part of daily life, and the message was clear: one child per family, no exceptions for most. The policy worked almost too well. Small families quickly became the social norm, and an entire generation grew up as only children, often without siblings or cousins to share their childhood with. The idea of a big family faded from memory. Fast forward to today, and the consequences are stark. China's population is aging at an unprecedented rate, and the birth rate has collapsed to historic lows. The country is now facing a shrinking, graying society. Last year, for the second year in a row, China's population actually shrank, a milestone that sent shockwaves through the country and the world. There are fewer and fewer young people entering the workforce, while the number of retirees is booming. This means a smaller base of workers supporting a growing elderly population. This imbalance is a recipe for economic trouble. With fewer workers and more dependents, growth slows and social systems are strained. The fertility rate is now around one child per woman, far below the replacement level of 2.1 needed to keep the population stable. This is one of the lowest rates in the world. In response, the government scrapped the one-child policy in 2016 and then raised the limit to 3 children per family in 2021, hoping to spark a baby boom. But the damage was already done. Decades of strict policy had locked in a cultural shift towards small families. Many couples now see having more than one child as unnecessary, expensive, or even undesirable. The so-called 4-2-1 family structure, 4 grandparents, 2 parents, and 1 child, has made raising kids both expensive and high pressure, with enormous expectations placed on the only child. Now these single children are expected to care for their aging parents and grandparents, while also being encouraged to have more children themselves. The burden is immense. It's a demographic trap of the government's own making, and escaping it is proving to be incredibly difficult. The legacy of the one-child policy isn't just about numbers. It's about a deeply ingrained culture that's hard to reverse, even with new policies and incentives. The crisis is here, and the old solutions simply aren't working. People are hesitant, and the social mindset has shifted, so what is the government actually doing about it now, and can they really turn things around before it's too late? The government's response? A patchwork of incentives. Some cities offer a $500 baby bonus, others a monthly stipend, or tax breaks for families. There's extended maternity leave, housing subsidies, and even better chances at school placements. On paper, it looks like a comprehensive package. The thinking, if raising kids is too expensive, make it cheaper and people will have more. State media now celebrates big families, framing child-rearing as a patriotic duty, but the approach is fragmented. Different perks in different places with no clear national strategy. Local governments are experimenting, hoping to find a magic formula. The intention is clear: make parenthood attractive and state-supported. But the reality? None of these perks are moving the needle. The birth rate keeps falling. The incentives look good in headlines, but they're not changing minds. Why? Let's look closer. Let's be real. A $500 bonus is almost laughable. Raising a child in a big city can cost over $300,000. $500 covers a tiny fraction. Young people face brutal financial realities: high rent, job insecurity, and supporting aging parents. The 996 work culture, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, leaves no time for family. For women, extended maternity leave often means workplace discrimination, not support. Employers hesitate to hire or promote women who might have kids. The government's plan ignores this deep gender inequality. And after decades of the one-child policy, small families are the cultural ideal. Parents pour everything into one child. Splitting resources feels impossible. The government is fighting a mindset it created. A small cash bonus can't undo decades of policy and culture. The real barriers are much bigger than money. So how are young people reacting? Young people's reactions to the government's new $500 baby bonus range from sarcasm to outright frustration. For many, the announcement feels completely out of touch with the realities they face every day. On social media, the $500 bonus has quickly become a punchline. Comments like, "Will you raise the baby for me too?" and "Is this supposed to cover diapers or university?" are everywhere, highlighting the skepticism and disbelief among young adults. Experts agree, the real issues run much deeper. High living costs, a severe lack of affordable childcare, and the crushing pressure of China's competitive education system are the true barriers to having children. Until these fundamental problems are addressed, cash handouts, no matter how well-intentioned, simply won't make a meaningful difference for most families. Take Li Na, a 29-year-old designer. She and her husband both work long hours, support both sets of aging parents, and can barely afford their own lives, let alone consider raising a child. A few thousand yuan doesn't change the fact we'd need a bigger apartment and less work, she says, echoing the concerns of countless others in her generation. Many young people feel the same way. Children are increasingly seen as a threat to both financial stability and personal freedom, rather than a source of joy or fulfillment. "I'd rather have a cat," says one young man with a laugh. "It's cheaper, less stressful, and doesn't need to go to university or cram school." This isn't about apathy or selfishness, it's a rational response to a system that makes parenthood feel like an overwhelming burden, both emotionally and financially. The government's incentives, while headline-grabbing, miss the real point and fail to address the root causes of the problem. The problem is deeply structural, not just about money. Without real reforms in housing, education, and work-life balance, no cash bonus will be enough to change young people's minds. China isn't alone. Japan and South Korea have faced the same crisis for decades. Both have spent billions on cash bonuses, free childcare, and parental leave. The result? Fertility rates remain among the world's lowest. Why? Deep-rooted cultural and economic issues, rigid work culture, gender inequality, and sky-high costs. In South Korea, even massive incentives haven't budged the birth rate. The lesson: you can't buy babies if society makes family life too hard. China is repeating these mistakes, but faster and on a bigger scale. Copying failed policies won't work. The real fix requires tackling the root causes. Superficial perks aren't enough. The real reasons for China's birth crisis are clear cost, careers, and culture. Urban living is expensive. Housing, education, and healthcare eat up most incomes. The 996 work culture leaves no time for family, and women face career penalties for motherhood. The government's incentives don't address toxic work environments or gender discrimination. Meanwhile, young people value personal freedom and career fulfillment over traditional family roles. Decades of the one-child policy and rapid modernization have changed what people want from life. These three forces, cost, careers, and culture, reinforce each other. The $500 bonus is a band-aid on a broken system. Real change means tackling these elephants head-on. Until then, birth rates will keep falling. The problem is deep, and the solution must be too. So, what would a real solution look like? First, make raising children genuinely affordable. Tackle housing, education, and healthcare costs. Build a robust, affordable public childcare system for all families. Reform the workplace. Enforce labor laws. End 996 and promote gender equality. Protect women from discrimination and normalize paternity leave. Strengthen the social safety net. Better pensions and healthcare reduce anxiety about the future. Support families throughout life, not just when the state wants more babies. This requires deep reform, not just subsidies. It means challenging powerful interests and changing cultural norms. It's a long road, but it's the only real path forward. So where does this leave us? 3 hard truths. First, the baby bonus is a joke. $500 means nothing against the true cost of raising a child. Second, the real barriers are economic and cultural. Work, cost, and gender roles make parenthood unappealing. Third, only deep systemic reform can create real change. China needs a revolution in family support, affordable childcare, workplace protections, and a real social safety net. The lesson from Japan and South Korea is clear: superficial fixes don't work. Only brave, fundamental change will move the needle. Until then, the crisis will deepen. You can't fix a sinking ship with a roll of tape. The bottom line, real solutions require real change, and that's the story China needs to face.